name is Diego Alfonso, and I'm your host with the Florida Aviation Network. We are broadcasting free and in the clear from the U.S. Sport Aviation Expo at Sebring, Florida, at Sebring Airport in Sebring, Florida. Today, our guest is Jason Schappert. Did I get it right?
You got it, man.
Okay. Jason, for those of you that don't know him yet, he just produced a video that will help, specially designed to help the rusty pilots. And he has a whole bunch of stuff to tell us about that. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, Diego, thanks so much for having me. So yeah, we just launched a new documentary, feature-length documentary called Flying Again. We work with 7 rusty pilots to get them back in the cockpit. And you know as a flight instructor that there's such a difference between being a current pilot and being a proficient pilot. Right. Currency is, okay, I've done my 3 takeoffs and landings, but would I take my family flying? That's a different story. It's all about proficiency. So how can we get those rusty pilots flying again? We worked with rusty pilots who haven't flown in 3 years, and a gentleman by the name of Bill Clayton who hadn't flown as long as 30 years.
Right.
So there's a lot of great flying footage, a lot of great instruction that you can see inside of the film. It's very cool.
Okay, now, if someone wants to obtain that video, how do we go about?
Certainly, they can go to flyingagainmovie.com. They can check out the trailers, they can see everything, make sure they fall in love with it. And the movie really serves as the inspiration because there's a human element to it. One thing I found, and maybe you can relate to this, is we all gave up something we love, which is flying, usually for someone we love. Maybe it was for a child to go to college. Right. Maybe it was a job relocation. Maybe a spouse didn't want you flying anymore. But as you know, flying has a funny way of bringing us back to it, always. So the movie has that human element of why do we stop flying and why are we getting flying again? It shows that process. Then we also released the companion book along with it because as you know, iPads have invaded the cockpit. G1000 is everywhere. 30 years ago, there was only 50 control towers. How many, hundreds are there now? Radio communications play such a role for a rusty pilot now who hasn't flown in 15, 20, 30 years. So we cover those sort of things in the book. The movie is really an inspirational story of working with these rusty pilots to get you or whatever rusty pilot excited about flying again. And then the book is really the education. What do I need? And we've done this with AOPA and the Rusty Pilot Seminars. Yep. I know you deliver a lot of Rusty Pilot Seminars, so you know these guys. You know this demographic very well. So we're very blessed to partake on this project.
As a matter of fact, I'm conducting a seminar for the Rusty Pilots on Saturday the 30th. That's Saturday the 30th in Orlando at Flight Training Professionals. So make a note of that, and we'll see you there. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Cool. I think that idea of getting the people back into the cockpit is a tremendous thing because a lot of people, a lot of pilots stop flying, like you say, for many different reasons. But once I noticed that the people that were there, all of a sudden they start getting enthused, and by the time the seminar is finished, they want to do something.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What is that next action step? And one thing we're doing here at Sebring, in fact, right now your colleague Jamie Beckett's over there doing a Rusty Pilot seminar. And as soon as his Rusty Pilot seminar ends, we're playing the movie Flying Again. So it's like you said, wow, I just got all this great information and now I want to watch the movie and let's take some action on this. Let's get a lesson scheduled because you don't have to go in all crazy. It is more than just a BFR. And one thing AOPA recommends, I'm sure you know this, is they recommend about 1 hour for every year you've been out flying. So it's important for these rusty pilots to understand it's not just a basic BFR, hour ground, hour flight anymore. I mean, when I was working with Bill Clayton, it was 2 weeks. It was a 2-week-long BFR flying every single day to get him where I was comfortable signing him off to fly again.
Yeah, because it has to do with the degree of rustiness.
Absolutely.
And some people are just slightly rusty and others are heavily rusted, and it's for their benefit. One of the things, you're a flight instructor, just as I am a flight instructor, and I in the past, I worked with people that came back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and the thing is that I always let them know that the final decision is a mutual agreement. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And they have to know when they feel ready to go back.
Yes.
And I have to concur with that.
It's your sign off.
I have the veto power.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But this is really a great idea that have come down to the aviation industry, because it will revive a lot of people that just stood up on the side.
Yes.
For whatever reason. Now, I understand that you are a flight instructor.
Yes.
And where are you teaching right now?
So I'm based at Ocala, OCF, up
Okay.
there, and I bounce around between there and X-Ray 35 and some of those airports up in North Central Florida.
Yeah,
Horse country out there.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of instruction out of Orlando, and I
Yes.
used to love to do Dunellen and
Yeah.
Ocala. Back in the day, there was
Yes.
no
No tower at Ocala, nothing, easy, right?
You don't even have to call approach to do approaches. You
Yep.
do your own.
Yep.
I mean, it was another world. It's another
Absolutely.
thing. But now, what do you have in store? What is the future with Jason?
Sure. So we're continuing to promote and grow flying again. And really what the future holds for this is in the hands of our government in a way, because we're waiting for third-class medical
Yeah.
reform, that Pilot Protection Act 2 we're really hoping for, because that's going to provide such a stimulus to the rusty pilot market. We've talked to so many people at Sebring that are just, man, when that medical reform happens, I
Yep.
can't wait to get flying again. I'm going to buy that sport cruiser. I'm going to buy whatever that may be. And they're so excited. So they're working at the speed of government. It always seems like 6
Yes.
more months. But when that does happen, I'm very optimistic that it will with AOPA and all that you guys do and EAA and everybody working so hard on this. I have no doubt it's going to come to fruition. And I believe that's going to be a big stimulus to general aviation.
There are a lot of people that are not flying right now because of not necessarily grounding medical reasons, but other reasons that under the standing rules they don't meet the grade.
Right.
Whereas, and the question is, what's the difference between a light sport and a Cessna 182
Yeah.
for the medical requirement?
Yeah. Well, under
They
the
both
new,
airborne?
Sure. Well, and even under the new medical requirement, Pilot Protection Act 2 as it stands is talking about instrument flying and everything else too. So now all that may or may not get passed, but it's decent. I'm excited about it. So it's going to provide such a bump to general aviation.
And I really think that it's going to happen. Congress unanimously passed that. I believe it's before the House now.
Yeah, which is going to be a drawn-out process again.
Yeah.
But it's moving forward.
There's 450 people, 500 people
Yes.
that have to sign off on it.
Yes.
And but I am just like you. I'm confident that it is going to happen.
Yes.
It is going to come, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Absolutely.
Because once you hit 70,
Yes.
then you start worrying.
I want to look like you when I'm 70, big and strong. That's my goal, Diego.
Okay. Now, let me get a little background on you. Tell me,
Sure.
when did you start flying?
Wow.
Let me go a little bit further. I
Sure.
always ask this question
Absolutely.
to everybody. Is tell us the reason of the dream. I mean,
Sure.
why be a pilot?
Sure. Well, for me, it started really, really young. My grandmother used to take me out to the airport. This is back when you could hang on an airport fence and no one would cart you
Yep.
away. And I wish more airports were still like that. And we'd pack a little lunch and we'd sit in her car or we'd hang on the airport fence and just watch airplanes at Ocala take off and land all day. And it really got me hooked. And I was very fortunate to take lessons at a young age. And originally I said, I'm going to be an airline pilot. And then I realized, gosh, those airline pilots are gone a whole lot. I knew one day I wanted to have a wife and have a family.
Right.
So I said, man, I'll be a corporate pilot one day. But then I realized those corporate pilots, the boss calls and you're going hunting in Wyoming.
24/7.
Oh, yeah. So I said, man, I wonder if I can make it work as a flight instructor. And I had a lot of naysayers in my life. Jason, flight instructors don't make enough money. How are you ever going to provide for that wife and kids that you want to have one day? And we really kind of went a different path with it, with doing the video production and making a movie and trying to find other sources of income, but staying within our realm of aviation because that's what we love, and really operate on the principle of if we can grow aviation, everybody wins.
Exactly.
And that's really been our premise
Well,
from the beginning.
That's why when you look at the Young Eagles and
Yes.
all the efforts that is being done to get to promote aviation at a young age, you look at the Civil Air Patrol.
Absolutely.
These kids are coming up and they need encouragement and they're backing up, and we're all for that. Okay, now tell me, where did you start learning how to fly?
So I started at Ocala Aviation with
Okay.
Ron Towater out there.
I know Ron.
Ron is still there.
Ron as a DPE.
Now he's a DPE and everything else, and has a great 141 program. And that's where I got my start, right there in a little Cherokee 140 that I still see buzzing around Ocala occasionally. A lot of memories in that
I
airplane.
used to be actually, I had one time was given. That's when Tampa and Orlando were together.
Yes, as a FISDO.
Yes,
Yes.
a FISDO. That's before the break. It was
Yes.
called Orlampa.
Orlampa. Yes.
Orlampa.
Yes.
And I was an FAA inspector, and I think I did a check ride or for Ron.
Wow.
To DPEs have to
Yes,
jump
absolutely.
through the hoop.
Yeah, I get it.
Every 2 years and that type of thing. And I did that. Great
Cool.
guy.
Oh,
And,
yeah, very cool
He's
guy.
a great. Now, what are the ratings that you hold right now?
So I just knocked out my ATP.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. I submitted for that DPE
So you mean
status.
you're older than 23?
I am older. I grew my beard out just for this interview, so I looked a little bit older, Diego. And again, I told you I want to be like you when I grow up. So, knocked out the ATP, and I on the docket list for 2016 is seaplane and glider. I'm going to do a seaplane
Cool.
with Jack Brown, or at Jack Brown's base
Yep.
with Chuck Brown, and do that down there. I'd love to go down the Seminole Glider Port and start learning to soar.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If I was FAA king,
Yes.
there will be a required endorsement
Yes.
for power pilots of anywhere between 10 or 15 hours of soaring.
Yes. Oh, no, I've done it before. It's awesome. Makes you a
Because
better pilot.
well, here's the thing. We're having problems now with people landing airplanes. But how many times do we hear gliders having problems landing the airplane?
No, you're right. You're
And
right.
they don't have an engine.
You're right. Well, and I would even take what you're saying a step further. All my students go to real soft fields, real grass strips. But I run into so many flight schools, oh, that's not on our insurance policy. You're not
yeah.
allowed to do that. But I would hate for my student, their first engine failure in flight, they don't know how to glide properly, like you said, and their first soft field landing is going to be in that situation.
Exactly.
I want them to learn what it's like to land on that grass and control that airplane and everything else. So, geez, if we could glide into a grass strip, we're great. We have Leeward Air Ranch. They're more than
Yep.
friendly to have us in there, and just a lot of great places up there to let students land on a real soft field.
There's so many things in aviation that I really don't understand. Those being one of them.
Sure.
Simulated soft field. There's nothing
No.
like
No.
You will never be able to simulate an actual takeoff or landing in a soft field unless you do it in a
Yeah.
soft field.
Yeah.
The same thing with the short field.
Oh, I make all my students go to Cedar Key. I know there's not an obstacle, but water on either end is very intimidating.
That's right. You make an arrow there, and they're going to fish you out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, when I was an inspector, there was an incident in Cedar Key of a highly experienced pilot. This individual flew every day as a profession. He was not an airline pilot. He flies checks. He flew checks.
Yes.
And if you know anything about that part of the business, most of them fly 210s.
Yep. And late at night, and yep.
And they
everything
have
else.
one power setting.
Yep,
Which is
exactly.
25-25.
Yes, exactly.
and
Go.
go. Well, on a weekend, on a Saturday, he decides to take his daughter to Cedar Key to have lunch.
Okay.
And he ran her 172.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? He was flying that 172
Yeah.
just like he flew the
Oh,
210.
yeah. Can't do that.
So, what happened? At the end of it went right into the water.
Just ran it
right
too
into the
hard,
water.
and yeah.
And so they gave me the case, the case, and I investigated it. And very nice man. And so we worked on the thing, and I asked him one day. I said, "What happened?" He says, "You know what happened? I was not flying a 172. I was
Yeah.
flying a 210."
Yeah.
And because that's what I've been doing 6 days a week,
Yeah, wow.
sometimes 7 days.
Yeah.
And I really didn't take into consideration all the things here. So after we did all the training that was required,
Yes.
then I had him take me to Cedar Key.
Yeah.
And we did, I said, well, I would like you to do 3 takeoffs and landings.
Yes.
No touch and goes. We did the 3 takeoffs, so I got off. And I said, well, now you go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I said, yeah. I said, because if you don't,
Sure.
you're psycho.
It's a mental thing.
That's right.
Yes.
Physically, you're ready because you've done it.
Yes.
Mentally, however, you haven't. So now I'm off the airplane. Now you go ahead and I know you can do it.
Yes.
And he went, man, you just have the wrong way. Because it's just a matter of changing gears.
Yes.
Being able
Absolutely.
to do that, and those are the things. And I know you know Eric. Eric and I,
Sure.
we have a lot of conversations
Yes.
about this, where a lot of things that could be improved. So this is my next question: as a
Yes.
flight instructor, and being in the field doing your thing, what are what are the things that, or the thing that you think you will change if you had the power?
Sure. My biggest thing, and I know it means it's going to cost people a little bit extra money, but my biggest thing would be to increase the nighttime requirement and increase the time under the hood, or make a private pilot candidate go up in an IFR environment, obviously with a CFII, and really stick their head in the clouds, because the foggles and the real deal are a different thing. And I'll never forget, this leads to a story, and I hope we have time for that.
Yeah.
It's, I was a brand spanking new private pilot, and I had to have a meeting up in Tallahassee. I wasn't intending to fly at night, but as you know, meeting ran long.
Yeah.
And I come back, and if you can picture between Ocala and Tallahassee, there's not a whole lot but woods and the Gulf of Mexico out
Yes.
there. So making that flight, I had my FAA required 3 hours. There was no moon that night, and as you know, it was just black on black. I mean, IFR is defined as any time flying without reference to the horizon.
Correct.
Although it was 10 and clear, I might as well have been an IFR pilot.
Exactly.
And I remember just saying, trust your instruments, trust your instruments. I didn't even know, Diego, as silly as this sounds, how to turn the instrument lights on, because my instructor did it for me, because they were all dual flights at night. So I would increase that nighttime requirement, because students, especially low-time private pilots, can get themselves in so much trouble flying at night, because all they have is 3 hours, it's all dual, and now they can do whatever they want with the private pilot certificate at night. And it's a little
Exactly.
scary to me.
Yes.
That's what I would change. I know it means it's going to cost a little bit more money, but geez, the safety margin just goes up tenfold.
One of the things that Stephen King says, he says that, let me see if I can think of this. He said that the biggest enemy of knowledge is not knowledge itself, but the illusion
Sure.
of
Yes.
knowledge.
Yes.
And when you think you can do something, that is really a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it comes to night, especially in this area, now if you live in an area, like I did a lot of instructing out of Jersey
Okay.
back in the day, and you have a lot of
Sure.
lights
Yes.
on the ground.
Yes.
And you can relate much better
Yes.
to it. But when you go to Miami and you fly over the Glades, and
Oh,
there's nothing.
No.
Just like the same stretch
yes.
that you were flying
yes.
at.
Black on black.
Okay, now we've just been given the sign now that we're running out of time.
Sure.
I really, really, really appreciate you being
Appreciate
here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Wish
Yes.
you lots of luck with that.
Thank you.
And that's right up my alley. I
Most
mean,
definitely.
so I'll probably be seeing you on Saturday
Yeah.
if you have a time to go by Orlando.
Yeah, love
we're
that.
going to be there. I believe James is going to be there.
Cool, that sounds great.
Yes, sir. So, folks, we have come to the end. And my name is Diego Alfonso, and again, signing off from Sebring, Florida, with the Florida Aviation Network.